That is a powerful, redemptive story that has to be told. And how do I live in Martinsville for 21 years and not know that story?
Like loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm, industriousness, and friendship. That's one. Like, can you lay those 5 things? You can build a strong team.
Can we get a lot of next-gen entrepreneurs to build cool things in Danville and make it a different place?
I've been wanting to get to a small town and really drive an impact. Were there other towns that are kind of on your short list of places where you see a lot of opportunity? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. This episode is brought to you by Cluster Truck, the pickup and delivery kitchen born right here in Indianapolis, just like this podcast. Cluster Truck is built for whatever kind of hunger you're dealing with. Late night cravings, covered. Family dinner, easy. Office lunch, of course. From hand-stretched pizzas and house-made mac and cheese to fresh tacos and salads, the menu runs deep and everyone finds something they're craving. Ordering for a group? Cluster Truck makes it simple. You can place one group order and pay together or separately, so nobody's sending money or doing math at the table. It just works. On top of that, Cluster Truck moves fast. Your food might even show up before this episode ends. Ready to eat? Use code GETIN at checkout for $5 off orders of $25 or more. Order now at clustertruck.com and truck on. My guests today are Scott Lingle and Justin Clements, and they were the co-founders of Remodel Health, an Indianapolis-based platform that helps companies stop buying one-size-fits-all health insurance and instead gives employees the freedom to pick plans that work for them. Today, we're not talking about their journey with Remodel Health. We're talking about what they're up to in 2026. Scott is all in on giving back to our Indiana community through his work at High School Hustle and his efforts to pour into Danville, while Justin is on a similar course on the South Side, helping change the narrative down in Martinsville, Indiana. Today, we're going to be talking about what motivated these guys who grow this business, sell this business, could be sitting down on the beach in Florida, hanging out, playing tennis and pickleball and maybe golf and have a couple margaritas by the pool. But today, they're pouring into these small rural communities here in central Indiana. We're going to find out all about it, what's going on in small towns. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nate. Great to be here.
Guys, I've had this one circled for a minute. Anyone who is an avid listener of the show knows that I love small towns. I think there's so much history and so much opportunity, which is an interesting place to be in, a place that historically has thrived, but also currently still has opportunity to have. And I know that you guys feel the same way about your respective towns. I'd love to know, I want to start this story as the dust settles with Remodel Health. You guys spent years growing this business. You go through the exit, and you could choose to do anything. You could choose to live anywhere. You could go down, kind of like have a semi-early retirement, but instead you choose to pour into these communities and the next generation. So we're going to start chapter 1 at the exit of Remodel Health and how you guys did some soul searching to identify these communities.
I intended to take a little bit of time off, but I kind of get antsy and hurt my knee, so that kind of put the pause on jiu-jitsu training for a little bit. And so just trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And to be honest, for the past, close to 20 years, I've always kind of watched what Scott's doing and follow his lead. And he's been a mentor for me and to me. And so that had some influence and just a lot of praying and talking to my wife and trying to figure out where I can use my time, talents, and treasures to make the biggest impact in the lives of others. So, yeah. And cool. I've lived in Martinsville for the past 20 years.
Okay, but you didn't grow up in Martinsville. No. I think one thing to know about small towns, a lot of times it's like the triumphant return of like, this place raised me and now I'm coming back home to make an impact. You grew up in 42nd and Post Road. Yeah. That's a world away from Martinsville.
Yeah, Post Road in the 90s, house was broken into 7 times, hitting a drive-by shooting, robbed from my bike at gunpoint. I mean, it was good times. That's where I learned sales. So
that's where you learned on 42nd and Post Road. So what led you to move to Martinsville 20 years ago?
Really pretty blue eyes.
That'll do it. Yeah. Yep.
So,
okay. Similar thing with you, Scott. Are you born and raised Danvilleite?
Oh, no. Grew up on the north side out by Geist Reservoir. Went to Lawrence North High School. And we live in Avon now, but we're building in Danville. And what took us out there, my wife's from Terre Haute. And Avon was like a good compromise. She took a teaching job in Avon. And over time, we've been there for 30 years. Avon's gotten a little boring, and Danville's got so much charm, so much character that we're building, and we're on our way out to Danville. Pumped about it. Yeah.
Okay, so why small towns? What is the opportunity that obviously you guys figured out, okay, you know what? I'm not going to just sit back and lounge around. We're going to start pouring into these smaller communities. Why small communities, and why the specific small communities besides just the Blue Eyes?
I probably would naturally gravitate to like a Carmel or a Zionsville. But when you think about it, like I'm not going to make a dent whatsoever if I go to Carmel or Zionsville. And what's cool about Danville, it's already a cool town. It's got a lot of good things going for it. It's a lot like, if you haven't been there, it's a lot like Noblesville. It's got the courthouse, the town square, so much character. And I feel like it's such a good town. It maybe not great, and it's got potential to become like a Zionsville. And what's cool is to be able to invest my time and my what God's given me, my time and my talent and my money, to see if we can make an impact.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting piece to think about, where it's, a lot of exited entrepreneurs can go into Carmel and, you eat at 3 Up or 1933, you're having a great time. But if you, invest in $1 million piece of real estate in Carmel, you're getting like a small little ice cream shop, versus if you invest the same level in a place like Danville or a place like Martinsville, you can seriously start to put together some serious momentum and bring some life and some energy into these places. So when you guys were going through this, when you think about what small towns in Indiana need to not just survive, but to actually thrive, like I know you guys are probably like research development, figure out a plan. Where does the plan start for small towns? And if there are mayors or residents of small towns across Indiana that are listening, where does it really start to move the needle in these small towns?
My thought is, and I've done a little bit of reading on this, a book called Strong Towns is really good. There's a dude out there named John Marsh, Marsh Collective. And from my research, I think it starts with good food. And food's so good that you can pull from like an hour or two. There are places around the state, of them, that are so good that they pull from like 1 or 2 hours away. And then what happens is you start getting consumer demand. You get people in the town, and retailers start seeing, oh, wow, there's a lot of people here, and they pop up and they want to be there too.
Is there an example of a place from either of you where you've driven an hour or two for a good restaurant?
Down there in Jasper, the
Schnitzelbank.
Yeah, Schnitzelbank.
And that's not, there is great food there. And it's also the experience.
Yeah.
You walk in and there's the big glockenspiel, and the whole vibe is just an experience that's, when you get there, the pot of gold at the end of this 2-hour long rainbow is a cool experience and good food.
Greencastle, we live about an hour away from Greencastle, where DePaul is.
Yeah.
They've got a cool place called Bridges. We go there a lot.
Fire pizza.
Yeah.
And the rooftop up there too.
Yeah.
Like that's just a whole vibe in a small town. That's awesome.
Honestly, that's my inspiration for what we're doing at Danville, the restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely, so Bridges went in maybe my sophomore, junior year at DePaul, and I took it for granted. Well, granted, I didn't have Bridges money as like a senior in college,
Sure.
like I was like when it was like half price bottle of wine night, and I'll take the cheapest one on the list. That was the money spot there. But like when your parents or someone was in town, you're like, hey, maybe we get a reservation at Bridges and a little rooftop patio. Like, let's go.
Sweet.
Okay, so you think it starts with food, where you can start to pull people in to at least come in and experience there. So that's where you're starting with in Danville. You are working on 20 West, I believe.
Yep, you're right. 20 West Public House. Yeah. It's going to be the name.
You're not a restaurateur. You were like a health insurance guy.
Right.
How do you start to put together the idea for a restaurant?
Yeah, in fact, I'm still not going to be a restaurant guy. I'm going to be the real estate guy. I'm going to be the landlord. And we're responsible for making it look really good. I think Bridges has a great look and feel, and we're kind of going for something similar there. I started going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, Rotary meetings, trying to find the players in Danville. And I came across a couple young studs, a guy named Jordan Yant and Trevor Bernhardt, and both their wives are Stephanie's. And they were already killing it in restaurants. They owned together like 7 different concepts. Nothing as big as we're going to pull off now, but they were hustlers, and they're making money on every single restaurant, which is not easy to do in restaurants.
Yeah.
And so I'm investing in those dudes.
Yeah.
These are young bucks that are out there hustling.
Whenever Scott Lingle says he's found a young stud, it is always a stud. If people remember, the Will Schuler episode came from a direct introduction from Scott, and it's still to this day one of my favorite episodes. Pretty early on in the Get In podcast, but it is a phenomenal listen.
That episode was in my top 5 last year
Let's
of all
go.
of all podcasts.
Let's go. It's I mean, Will is a heck of a guy. All right, Justin, take me through Martinsville.
Yeah.
So Scott identified food was where he's going to start in Danville. What has your process been when thinking about how to pour some life? And I don't want to say there's no life and nothing going on there, because I think that's disrespectful to these communities, but to add a little bit of gasoline to what they have going on.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. There's already a lot of great stuff going on there. Really good restaurants. There's a new restaurant called 1915. So there's that box that I checked. For me, it was, I took a trip to celebrate closing out Remodel and getting to the kind of the finish line there. We took a trip to Italy, learned a lot there in Italy, and kind of the best communities. They had like a sense of community. People were on the sidewalks eating. Visited Pisa and just learned the history there of Pisa, where they were thriving, so much so that
This is where the Leaning Tower is?
the Leaning Tower of Pisa is there. And that story, I don't know how long this podcast is supposed to be, but this is the journey that I went on. So when I was there, I was kind of soul searching and trying to figure out, how can I help grow where I'm planted, make my community one of the best communities to live in for my kids, for their the future generations, and for the community that I've been grown to be a part of. I've been there for the past 21 years. So looking at Pisa and going on this tour, Pisa had so much commerce because of where it was strategically located. Had tons of people visiting Pisa in, I don't know, around 500 AD, 600 AD. It was so strategically located that it had tons of people visiting it and spending money. It was like a merchant community. And so much so that they had a Catholic church, a Jewish temple, and a Islamic temple, all within a stone's throw of each other, right there in Pisa, right by the Leaning Tower. And they all got along. And matter of fact, there's like Islamic arches in the Catholic church because some Islamic people helped work on the Catholic church. So that showed me that when there's money flowing and commerce is kicking butt, that people seem to get along. And all these, these vast different religions that historically don't get along, they were getting along there in Pisa. And the people there were doing so great, they decided they were going to build a tower so that everyone could see Pisa and from all around, right? And so they built this huge, massive tower. They failed to check the foundation and the soil, but that's how you get to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But that trip taught me, that we need more commerce and no margin, no mission. And so it set me on a journey of how do we get Martinsville's economic engine cranking? How do we get things, money flowing there? And one big way is get people visiting. And so what are reasons for people to visit Martinsville? Well, it's strategically located in between Indianapolis and Bloomington. And thanks to Cinetti, we're going to see a whole lot more people traveling to Bloomington during the football season.
IU football was just waiting for that, is it I-69 to get
Yes.
finished? They were just waiting to put together some good seasons until that whole
That's right.
stretch of road got finished.
They wanted people to be able to get
They
there.
didn't want it to be an inconvenience.
What I'm first starting with is great schools, to have a good community, to have opportunity, to have businesses. I wanted Remodel Health to plant in Martinsville and grow our operations there, but no one wanted to drive to Martinsville or move to Martinsville. So how do I change that mindset? Well, first of all, you have to have great schools.
How does a private entrepreneurial individual impact public schools?
Yeah, great question. So I went and sat down with the superintendent, got his phone number, called him. He invited me to come sit down with him. And I said, I don't think kids should go to college. I'm telling my kids not to go to college. I think it's a waste of time and money for most futures.
Really?
And he said,
Hot take.
I agree.
That is a very hot take.
So
Wait, he said I agree?
he said, I agree. We need more career paths. And I said, I want to build an innovation career lab where kids can learn, career paths and trades and skills, not just blue collar stuff like, HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, masonry. I took over a masonry company. I have a masonry background, so I dabble in that a little bit. And there's good money to be made there. And excavating, I have a partner that I started excavating business with, and there's good money to be made there. And you don't have to have a college degree. And so many of these kids, myself, I have an MBA. You know what it takes to be an insurance professional? To start Remodel Health and have a license and do what we did, it takes a high school diploma and a 3-week course. And now you're an insurance professional.
And you got to pass that one test, that life and health test.
There you go.
Which did it on my first try.
There you go.
Known. That was my first gig out of school.
Heck
Yeah. Once you get the license, then you just have to do your CE.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm telling my own kids, you don't need to go to college. My youngest wants to be an engineer. He wants to go to Rose or Rose. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's an IU fan, so he doesn't want to go to Purdue. But
that's fair.
Anyways, so if that's what I'm telling my own kids, but a lot of these kids don't have the same opportunities, and they don't have the hope. So
and the narrative is definitely, which I'll push back and say, I do think there is a benefit to a 4-year college degree that's outside of just like getting your technical training, like the people and the
relationships,
like being part of a community of people who are driven to do that is good. But then there's this other group of people where the narrative is, oh, well, if you don't go off and go to college, then you're not succeeding in high school. Like it's only college, like the winners will go to college. And I think there's a way, again, Will Schuler proved it, where it's like you can be an incredible winner and not go to college and figure out your pathway there. So I do think that the narrative of if you don't graduate high school and go to college, then you're not going to be a winner. I do think that has been pushed at us for many, many years.
My middle boy, Ryan, went to college for 1 year. He's a total self-learner and, big time reader by the time he went to college, and he calls home like his first year and he's like, I'm bored out of my mind.
Where was he going?
Olivet, Nazarene.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is not a crack
that's
on
why.
No. Not a crack on Olivet. He could have been at Harvard. And he said, I'm just not learning. Like I've learned all this stuff on my own. And he said, I want to go into software engineering. And I found the best software boot camp in Amsterdam. And I'm going to go there for like 6 months. And he pulled it off and he came back and he's killing it.
That's crazy.
It's not for everybody.
No, I do think it takes a special person that also wants to push themselves and give them the structure to thrive and survive. Because a lot of people are like, college is stupid, and then they're like working at the gas station, and never leave their 10 square miles of their local area. Right. So it's a balance of figuring that part out. So, but you've invested then into helping build this career center type thing.
Yeah. So the superintendent said, your answer to prayers. We were thinking about doing this for the past 5 years. And so I joined them, and it's not really my idea. This is the, apprenticeships and programs, not necessarily taking people away from college, but letting them figure out what career path they want to do. Yeah. That may include going to college. That may include going right into the workforce. And, it could be a lot of things, but letting them put their hands on different things, drone flight technology, prosthetics, cranial surgery, computer programming, software engineering, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, nursing, all the different career paths, and letting them get their hands on it. So they put it in for the 8th grade, and they have this career module, one of the first school in Indiana, actually at the John R. Wooden Middle School, is the first one to have these Paxton Patterson career lab modules in 8th grade. And then, so it went so well, and it's done so well with the 8th graders that we're put in the 7th grade. And thanks to, selling some of my shares at Remodel Health, the Clements Family Foundation is set up to be able to help with that. And we're going to advance it and get it accelerated.
Let's go.
For the high schoolers.
That's so cool. I do think this reminds me back of the Indie Chamber episode that we did. And they took a huge party over to, I believe, Switzerland and studied the apprenticeship model.
Cement.
Yeah. And a lot of people, though, think that apprentices would just be like, you're a plumber's apprentice or you're like a blue collar. But like in Switzerland, it's like banking, finance, like there's apprenticeships for almost every type of role. And you start to learn what it really means to be a banker or what it really means to be in insurance or whatever it might be. Because a lot of times you graduate from college and like you don't have any idea what being a commercial lender looks like at a bank. It's like you figure it out when you get to your job, but you just have the degree. So like getting exposure to these different career paths is very interesting. It's also interesting to hear the different approaches that each of you are taking or have thought about through your different places. Like through Danville, we're starting with real estate and restaurant, and then through Martinsville, starting with school. When you think about the opportunity, how do you see the trajectory of both of your respective homes going? Like if you could paint the perfect vision 20 years from now, what does it look like? The year is 2046. And you drive downtown Martinsville, you're driving downtown Danville. What does it look like?
The way I'm building Danville is two things. One, real estate and restaurants. Two, high school hustle.
Yeah.
So as you know, Peter Servas and I are the founders of High School Hustle. We've got one employee. Dude's a total stud, Hunter Beal.
Listen to that episode, just came out.
So my vision is I'm running a 10 or 20 year experiment on Danville, Indiana. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go hyper local with High School Hustle and try to find all the next generation entrepreneurs in the high school. And I'm going to surround them with mentors, all the business owners in Danville, so that when they go off, maybe they go off to Purdue, IU, Notre Dame, who knows, maybe they don't. But when they come back, they want to come back and build in Danville. And how we're doing that, it's the same thing we've done for the last 3 years at High School Hustle. We find all these stud business owners that are generally our friends, or we make friends with them, and we throw meetups every month. And all the meetup is we meet on a Wednesday from 4 to 5. I will interview that stud business owner. He'll tell a story. We'll invite, I've already curated a list of 80, believe it or not, 80 business owners in Danville. I've already done this. And then we invite all the mentors and all the students to hear that guy's story, guy or gal's story. And what happens is we form these natural, organic relationships between the mentors and the students. And I believe my hypothesis is kids will come back if they've got their mentors there. Mentors are so valuable. I've done everything in life because of, you mentioned apprentices earlier. I think that's how we learn how to do our jobs is through apprenticeships. And that's all we're doing. We're building an apprenticeship model through meetups in Danville. And the giant experiment is, can we get a lot of next-gen entrepreneurs to build cool things in Danville and make it a different place?
Yeah. Okay, Justin, 20 years from now, 2046, downtown Martinsville, how does it feel? Well, maybe even start with when you drive past the Welcome To sign, what does that say?
Yeah, maybe it says Woodinville. Maybe.
So people do need to know Martinsville is the home to legendary basketball coach John Wooden.
Yes.
Grew up there, and then UCLA was... Right, I don't want to butcher that, but tons of titles, very known,
10 in a row.
The pyramid of success, right? Is that John?
Yes.
If you've watched Ted Lasso and you see in the back picture, there's the pyramid of success and the 7 things or whatever it is, or 6 things.
Yeah,
I don't know the pyramid by heart, but maybe you do.
Yeah, there's the pyramid of success is John Wooden distilled down how he was so successful and things he learned over nearly 100 years of living here on this earth. And I'm actually going through the John R. Wooden course to get John R. Wooden certified, learning all of that and applying it. But interesting enough, I think that people should know in 20 years when they drive through Martinsville, they should know all about Doc Merritt.
Who is Doc Merritt?
Doc Merritt moved to Martinsville in 1890 to work at a sanitarium. A sanitarium is a health spa. Martinsville had, French Lake had a bunch of spas.
Yeah. And this was largely sanitariums were for people that had tuberculosis, right? And they would move out to the country to have the rural air and try to get better from whatever ailed them.
Yeah. They thought that Martinsville is the artesian city, the water, the wells have tons of minerals. It's very rich in minerals. And people would travel from all across the country, the Midwest, to go to the Martinsville sanitariums. They thought that the water had healing properties.
Wow.
So French Lake had 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Martinsville had 11 spas. It was a whole community of just these sanitariums.
And this is interesting to note that Martinsville, the high school mascot, is the Artesians.
A well.
Which is a well, yeah. What an interesting...
water.
Yeah.
The healing waters of Martinsville.
Yeah, 11 different... Because I think now sanitarium gets a really bad rap. You kind of think of asylum, mental institution type thing. But this was a place that people would go to try to...
The wealthiest people would come there to not just heal up, but preventative,
Yeah.
And so They had 11 of them, and that was most of the industry. And this guy, Doc Merritt, moved up from a sanitarium down near Louisville, and there were sanitariums all across the place, French Lick and Louisville, but Martinsville was really well known because their water was special. And so this guy, Doc Merritt, moves there to find a job, work in a sanitarium. He was a porter, a lot maintenance guy, bellhop, all that type of stuff.
So was he actually a doctor?
No, his name is Albert Merritt.
But he just goes by Doc.
He got the nickname Doc.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But not an actual doctor. Okay.
Not a doctor. He did help heal a lot of lives, but not a doctor.
Okay.
So he got there in 1890, started noticing the kids from the other side of the tracks, the riffraff, the youngsters getting in trouble, and he started mentoring them. Kind of like what Scott does with High School Hustle a little bit, Started mentoring these at-risk youth and started what is thought to be one of the first, if not the first, boys club in the whole United States. Just mentoring these kids, and didn't make a lot of money as a maintenance guy at a spa sanitarium. So he saved up his own money and bought a building right off the square in Martinsville and called it the Out of Trouble Club. So he saved up his own money, never married, dedicated his whole life towards mentoring at-risk youth and mostly boys, and did that until he died in 1958. So from 1890 to 1958, mentoring youth, and mentored over 2,000 youngsters, young men in Martinsville, Indiana, and until he died in 1958. When he died, he was such a pillar of the community. They named a park after him. They had a Merritt Award every year for many, many years, and celebrated Doc Merritt. He was a pillar of the community. These youngsters that he mentored and started the Out of Trouble Club with his own money, they loved him so much that they called themselves Doc's Boys. And so they had the Out of Trouble Club, Doc's Boys Out of Trouble Club. And he would take them fishing, hunting, movies, take them to church. He was a man of faith and mentored these young men. Often went on to be doctors, lawyers, business professionals, ministers, missionaries, and did great things because of the influence of this one man that mentored at-risk or fatherless or parentless youth in Martinsville, Indiana.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rest of the story that made it more intriguing to me is that Doc Merritt was actually born in 1871 in Kentucky to freed slave parents. Doc Merritt was an African-American man and a pillar of the community in Martinsville, Indiana. And then when I started doing more research, from 1900 to 1958, when Doc Merritt passed away, Martinsville was one of the most progressive communities for race relations, one of the only communities that allowed colored people into the sanitariums as well as white people. And a lot of that was in part by the influence of Doc Merritt and the pillar of the community he was.
Which is interesting because Martinsville gets the rap for being a sundown town. That's
right. In 1968, Carol Jennings was murdered in Martinsville, and they did not find the killer. And that was a huge controversy. And Carol Jennings was there selling, I believe it was encyclopedias, door to door, and she was murdered, and they didn't find the killer. And this was a lot of racial tension in the late 60s, early 70s. And I don't want to put words in mouths, but I've talked to a lot of people, and they said that IU professors, and I don't know why, I think it might have something to do with a chip on their shoulder that John Wooden was from Martinsville and winning all these national championships at UCLA, but IU did not really like John Wooden, and IU professors started talking about how bad Martinsville, Indiana is, and it got a reputation for sound downtown and racial tension. And I think that there might be a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy there. If someone tells you are something for so long, you start to believe it and act that way. But Martinsville has a very interesting past, and the fact that this guy, you think of amazing stories like Rudy, the historic story of Notre Dame, right? What was the story? Now, I love Rudy, don't get me wrong, but what was that story about? About a short white guy that got to take a snap, one snap, right? That was like, if I got to play one snap at Notre Dame, that's the story, Rudy. What about a story of a guy who his family was enslaved by a different race, and he looked past that history and that abuse and overcame that and loved the same people that suppressed his own family. That is a powerful, redemptive story that has to be told. And how do I live in Martinsville for 21 years and not know that story?
Yeah. Doc's Boys.
Doc's Boys, let's go.
I mean, that's a heck of a story. And I see where you're like talking about there's something there. Because it is interesting. That's not the story that Martinsville is known for.
No.
And it's literally the exact opposite.
It is.
And then you talk about being a self-fulfilling prophecy, and all of a sudden you're told this for years and years. And like even if you put out content about Martinsville, like it's almost like 1 out of every 3 comments is about
home of the KKK or something like
Yes.
that. I've lived there for 21 years. And like I said, I come from a very, very diverse background. The community I grew up in at 42nd and Post. Places and people and communities have history, and some of it's ugly. And our country has history that's ugly. The world has history that's ugly. And overcoming that, the only way you overcome that is love. And I think that that's the example that Doc Merritt set. Now, that Carol Jennings was murdered, and it is a terrible thing that happened, and they didn't catch the killer until around 2004. They figured out who murdered her, and it was a guy that lived in Indianapolis, was traveling home from Evansville, and he actually murdered her with his daughter in the back seat of his car. He was not from Martinsville, but that story, if you look up the girl in the yellow scarf, you can find out more information about that. They did a documentary and a story about it, but then in between 1968 and the early 2000s, that was the narrative. The boogeyman's going to get you. Don't stop in Martinsville. It's, a racist community. And the fact that Doc Merritt, poured his whole life in that community, was a pillar of it, that story needs to be told as well.
Yeah, you just talk about, 1968 until the early 2000s, like over 30 years of you not knowing, like there's a murder, like and you could think in our community, like someone I could be going to church with or getting dinner with, like someone did this horrible thing. And like, yeah, you're right. And it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like maybe we are this play. And then you kind of forget about the legacy of Doc Merritt. Wild.
Or John Wooden.
Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about that I think is interesting. You've lived in Martinsville for now going on 21 years. Mm-hmm. And one thing about small communities is they're not, one, always super receptive to change, especially when it's change from an outsider who's not one of them. So I think like being in a community for 21 years gives you, like at some point, 7 to 12 years in, you start to become one of us. But then Scott, on the other hand, you're this new entrepreneur guy coming from Avon out into Danville, stirring up a bunch of change, thinking like I'm just wondering how you're being received by the community of Danville.
So what I've done, I've been putting in the work. I mentioned earlier 80 people on my list. I've had probably 100 coffee meetings with every business owner, every business leader in that town for the last like 2 or 3 years, knowing that that's what you said is spot on. However, still getting some arrows.
Yeah. So like what? Like what's like an arrow?
I've been learning the real estate game. Don't know anything about it. As you know, Tyler's in real estate. Him and I are trying to learn commercial real estate together, and we're neophytes. Like we don't know what we're doing. But I got some good advice that I should go to the town. And keep in mind, we bought a building that's 150 years old that's been sitting empty, vacant for 7 years. It's literally crumbling down. And the reason why nobody wanted it, there's a lot you're going to find in there when you start doing construction. And it costs hundreds of thousands just to get this thing back to like market. And so anyway, we went to the town council and the redevelopment commission, and we pitched them on an investment. Will you help us? Like we showed them all the math. And it's not easy. Like we have no dreams that we're going to make a lot of money on this project. It's a passion project. We just don't want to lose money. And so we went before the redevelopment commission and said, hey, here's what we're doing. We're going to try to make a restaurant so good it can pull for, a couple hours away. We've got an outdoor space that's killer. So it's going to be outdoor bar, like one of those shipping containers that we're going to turn into like a cool bar. We're going to have outdoor seating, like a huge turf area with cornhole and fire pits.
If you're doing something with shipping containers, you've been talking to Hunter Beal a lot.
I have learned that idea.
The shipping container king.
Yep. And anyway, so we had these renderings done. We went to the town council, went in front of the redevelopment commission, and they invested a pretty big number. And the town newspaper ran a story on it, really positive. and said, hey, here's what's coming. It's going to open up around July. And somebody chimed in on social media and said, hey, it's all great until you find out the guy got a lot of money from the town, and he's not even from Danville.
Oh, not even from Danville.
So what they didn't know, I'm a Hendricks County guy for the last 30 years. I literally live, 3 miles from downtown Danville. And we're building a house that we're moving into literally in February in Danville, about 40 acres. My 2 oldest boys are moving to Danville. We're going to have a family compound out there. So I'm totally in on Danville. I just haven't been there for decades.
The vocal crew on social media will be like, well, I want to get this amount of blah, 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 blah. And, the government's helping so and so. But don't see that that's the progress that needs to happen. 150-year-old building was just going to crumble and decay on your town square. You just can't have that. Talk to Mayor Jensen from Noblesville. The number one thing is your full square needs to be occupied and vibrant. And it's not with just lawyers and real estate agents, but places that people walk into.
Right.
They even talked, I talked to Mayor Jensen. They talked to some of the professional services companies that were on the square and said, hey, would you guys be willing to put a retail in the bottom and move your offices up so that people can walk in and out of the square?
Courthouse towns, it's a big deal because they're all attorneys on the first floor. And the market will drive that with the right economics, right? So if we get a killer restaurant and all of a sudden you got consumers and people there 24/7, retailers naturally are going to want to be there, and they're going to bid up the rates for the rents on the bottom floors, and the attorneys will go upstairs. So it'll naturally happen with market forces.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at the Kelly Evening MBA program. On this show, we talk a lot about how people across Indiana navigate, change, and tackle what comes next. If you've been thinking about the next step in your career, but wondering how to make it work with everything else you've got going on, you're not alone. The Kelly School of Business Evening MBA program is Indiana's #1 part-time MBA, according to U.S. News and World Report. Built for ambitious working professionals right here in downtown Indianapolis, you'll learn from world-class Kelly faculty, collaborate with classmates from leading Hoosier companies, and apply what you learned at work the very next day. Whether you're looking to step into leadership, pivot industries, or strengthen your business foundation, the Kelly Evening MBA helps you move forward with confidence and without putting your life on pause. Learn more about how the Kelly Evening MBA pays off at go.iu.edu/evening MBA. That's go.iu.edu/evening MBA, or check the link in the description of this episode. We have it down there. Go check it out. Our friends at the Kelly Evening MBA program are awesome. Now let's get back into the episode. I do think that's interesting though, of being an outsider and trying to come in, because the other piece is you don't want to approach it as a way of saying everything that you're doing is wrong. You guys, you're bad. I'm going to be the savior,
100%.
How do you balance driving something forward with also not shaking the boats and becoming, ostracized because you're stepping on toes?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's the language matters a lot, and the language has to be good to great. They have a good thing going. I mean, it's
the Mayberry Cafe, baby.
Super cool town with a ton of good things going on. I would argue they need an upper scale restaurant. You can't get a steak in downtown Danville, and good town needs that, right? And so we're going to bring that, something they don't already have. They got great food. They've got great amenities all over Danville already. We're just going to bring something new to the table that's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, it is interesting. Especially, you introduced me to Eric Doden, and I started reading his book about the restoration of Van Wert, Ohio.
Yep.
And this, you talked about food being the first one. Well, actually, even before food, it's technically real estate development. Is a lot of times the first domino that falls in this. And what they did with Van Wert, Ohio, and I think is currently going on in Richmond, Indiana, is you start to put together these massive real estate deals that help revitalize. So the wording matters here. When you talk about revitalizing historic buildings versus renovating or building new construction, it's you're taking historic old buildings and helping revitalize and bring life back into them. And then there's lots of government, what, I don't know, this is where it gets above my head, but like the tax credits and the, this, that, and the other thing that help put these big deals together and get developers investing into these small towns.
Yep.
Are those conversations that you've had with Eric and learned about?
We actually have had Eric to Danville to meet with all the leaders a couple times now, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And the key part that I love about what Eric Doden is building, I think he calls it Pago Project.
Yeah.
And is the fact that all of it starts with forming a nonprofit trust. It's what that means. Instead of a developer coming in and just making millions on your town, which is great. That's what free market's all about, right? This starts with you form a nonprofit trust. And when you start making millions, and you will after you pay back, bank loans and you get it all leased up, the structure he builds, every penny will only ever go back into reinvestment in that town. So we are still pursuing that idea for Danville. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but that's in development right now.
The other interesting piece about Eric Doden's formula, I would say, is that it has to be huge. Like, it's not like a $10 million thing. It's like a $50 million thing. And it has to be big and like really spark change. Like, it can't be 2 buildings. It's got to be 50 buildings or 20 buildings or whatever it is. And you really start to put work into there and you develop this real estate, and it's interesting. I think one of the biggest things that I hear, and I'd be curious to hear about both of your perspectives as you're talking to government officials, rural Indiana, a lot of them say they need more housing because housing will bring more business or bring more jobs. And it's like this chicken or egg circle where it's like, do businesses come in there or do housing come in there? What goes first?
I think, and I'm learning this, and not as fast as Scott, because I went to the officials in Martinsville and I got $0. Bought a building on the square, one of the last buildings. It's on the corner lot of the historical square in Martinsville. It was built in 1870, and I'm gonna turn it into Doc's Boys Out of Trouble Club.
No way.
Have duck pin bowling downstairs, axe throwing upstairs, escape rooms down.
But you didn't get any. You didn't.
I got no love.
No love from the government.
No, they were like, yeah. I gotta take some notes from Scott. My sales pitch is getting a little rusty. So bought an old shopping center, Marsh building, and strip mall there, and so I have plans for that. So hopefully I get some help with that because I can't do it on my own.
Well, I think the other interesting piece about Doden's thing is that it takes an like a sizable investment for a community to get this thing up and running. Like, I think their Van Wert one was like $5 million. Like, you had to get $5 million in cash and then you borrow the rest of it.
You're right. We're underway with trying to raise the initial 5 to get ours out of the gate. So that's definitely step 1.
Yeah.
To answer your question, fortunately, Danville's got both. I mean, it's got a ton of new housing developments going up right now. It's kind of on the edge of the path of progress, like it's urban sprawl, the next town out. And so it's already growing. I just happen to want to invest in, the vision for me is 10 years. We want not only 20 West Public House, which will happen by July. I'd love to see a brewery in there. I'd love to see a new hotel downtown. I would love to see a market, like a grocery store with good, organic food, almost like a Whole Foods, but something smaller.
Like a Needler's almost. That'd be pretty cool.
There you go. Because it's a walkable town, a lot of cool homes that are walkable to that downtown. And I think the more you can give everything a walkable resident would want, including like right now we don't have a grocery store, I think that's much needed.
If you were to close your eyes and put down on paper everything that you would want in the perfect, almost like utopian community, you'd put down like walkable, like some nightlife, some great restaurants, grocery, like all these different things. And then you start to put them out there and then you look at it and it's like, oh smokes, I just described Midtown Carmel. Yeah. And everyone's like, no, I don't want to be Carmel. But then you look at everything that you just put down there that you wanted and it's like, dude, I just described like this thing, and they've just done a great job of executing up through there. And obviously, like I think that having character and the unique small town pieces, everyone should have their own identity and piece there. But like a lot of this, you can go look from that little portion in Midtown Carmel, and you can see the theater, and you can see the rooftop bar and the steakhouse and the ice cream joint and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, it's not too bad. And I'm like an outward, not Carmel guy. I'm like a Marion County 46220 guy. And I go up there and I'm like, the older I get, the more like, oh, this isn't so bad, I guess. Like,
they're doing it right.
Trail system's key. I mean,
trails,
benefiting from the Monon is just so huge for them. And that's one thing I'm looking at is, how do we really step up the game on the trail system? I think that matters.
Who's done a good job of that is Hancock County.
Yeah.
They have that trail that comes out through Greenfield, and it's like they have their depot district right there, which is like I just think anytime you revitalize these historic old things, it's just cool to me. Like, I find it very fascinating, and it's like I go in there and I've had lunch there. Great food, for one. I think it's called The Depot. The Depot in downtown Greenfield. Spectacular food. Trail butts right up to it. They have like their First Friday type thing, and they have all that. Greencastle does a great job with their First Friday. Like, that place gets hopping.
Yep.
It's so cool. So I do think that it's interesting. I also think on the other side, though, some people think like, okay, our town is, not thriving the way that it could be. What do we need? A brewery. A brewery is going to fix all of our problems, and it's like, then they open up the brewery and no one goes to that. And it's like, and it's almost like you do need food and restaurants and real estate and stuff like that, but you also need this narrative. Like, you kind of talked about this with Martinsville of like, a little bit of our narrative needs to change, and the way that we talk about our home and the way that the world perceives our home needs to change. How are you guys thinking about driving forward the marketing and messaging and narrative around these communities?
I think you play the cards you're dealt, right? And so each community is a little different. They have different resources, different locations. So for Martinsville, it's beautiful landscape. I've gotten to know quite a few of the community leaders and people and the business owners, and amazing people. So you got a beautiful landscape, amazing people, strategically located on I-69. It's 30 minutes from the airport. It's 20 minutes from Bloomington. And then you play the cards you're dealt with. Bloomington's hot because of the IU football and IU basketball, IU sports. And a hotel would be a game changer. So we have people talking about putting in a nice upscale Marriott type of hotel.
Do people visit? Like, is it an overnight destination type place?
Not at all. But it can be. There's kind of a hotel desert between Indy and Bloomington, and it could be strategic for IU stuff. But what I want to do is put a convention center and pick up the crumbs from Indianapolis. You have huge conventions, and they cost a lot of money. Parking at this would be really, really easy.
Yeah.
We have the restaurants to support it for small venues, not in like Gen Con or Future Farmers America, but like small, like your company wants to have a small 1.5 day, and most of your people are from Central Indiana. It would be a good alternative, save a lot of money, be safe, and really easy parking. But we'd have to have some hotels, and they're already looking at doing hotels, and something like that would get money flowing in to our local economy. I did some initial research. I think somewhere around $25 million of economic development just from having a conference center that could be a 25,000 square foot convention center.
One thing that's interesting about Martinsville is it really is like the gateway to Southern Indiana. Like, when you think about it, and this is, I would love if you can either validate or disprove. What I hear is that when the glaciers were coming across northern Indiana, they stopped in Martinsville. And that's why the hilly landscape starts there and leads into southern Indiana. So literally, I feel like you'll go under that. Oh, is it an overpass?
Yeah.
High school's out to your right. There's an underpass. And like right there, like I would like decorate that, like the gateway to southern Indiana. And all of a sudden, it's like you have the hilly landscape and the limestone and the everything. And like the legend or the lore that I've heard for years is that glaciers froze all the way south to Martinsville, stopped right there. That's why it's flat as you go north, and there's lakes and all that stuff. But as you go south, you do have that hilly landscape, which is interesting.
It's beautiful. It's that's why Bloomington's beautiful. That's why Brown County is beautiful.
Yeah,
and it starts right there. And so you have the beautiful landscape, strategically still close to Indianapolis. Close to the airport. So there's a lot of things playing in the favor. So just trying to play the cards we're dealt, but we want to also create a lot of opportunity for youth and have talent pipeline coming out of there for all kinds of industry.
Oh, what do you got, Scott?
Danville narrative, one word, Mayberry. So they've got a Mayberry restaurant, but I think they're going for that feel. You know what I mean? Small town, keep it small, safe. You know, kids can walk the town square and not worry about like crazy things going on. And so keeping that small town feel is what they're all about.
Yeah. I like that. And I think that sells, you know, like a lot of people do want that feeling. Like sometimes I grew up in a small town, 1,500 people. We walked everywhere. We would literally, like our town was small enough we could play tag and like the whole town was on limits. But sometimes we'd say like, hey, just the east side or just the west side. Like no going across the train tracks today because we needed the space to be even tighter because we wanted to see some action when we were playing tag. I think that's interesting. And I do think that, you know, as you see, and sometimes I'm here in Indianapolis and I'm like, I do kind of miss the small town vibe and the small town feel. And then other days I'm like, I'm so grateful to live in a thriving big metro. So I do think that people will start to kind of get that balance because you're in Hendricks County. You're close enough that you can get downtown for a Pacers or a Colts game, but you're far enough away. You're an arm's length away. Okay, so I do want to kind of talk through if you could wave a magic wand and just start making these developments. So the first thing you said, hotel, conference center, that would be one thing you would add to Martinsville. What would be one thing you would add to Danville? And we're going to go back and forth and get like 2 or 3 of them each.
Yeah, in addition to the restaurant that we're going to bring to life and make happen, I would say kind of an organic grocery store with local farmer food in there would be a next good move.
Yeah, that's the well. And one of your boys is like a homesteader, right?
Ryan.
Ryan,
yeah, and now he's going to have 40 acres to make that happen.
Yeah, so he could be like the supplier for you know the Lingle farm market.
Yep.
Okay, Justin.
Yeah, the Innovation Career Lab for high school, and then also after high school, if you want to reinvent yourself or need a second chance, a redemptive type of thing. So having career and training, to let people. Give them hope and tools to be able to live the best life.
Because this is the other part that I worry about the further. I think they did some shuffling of the high school diploma, and like certain kids can opt in that like really doesn't set them up to go to college. Like I don't know what the degree level is, but I know that there was like a very strict narrowing where it's like this degree will get you into college and this one will get you ready for the workforce. And the decisions that you can make as like a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid can really make a lasting impact. Like if you go down the road to be an apprentice for the pipe fitters union, great, you might make a decent chunk of money. You get out of school, you're living by yourself, and then all of a sudden you're, husband, father, or mom, dad, whoever it is, and you're 10 years into your career and you're like, I hate this. This is not fulfilling. I don't want to do this anymore. But you have no college experience and you don't have any other training other than being a pipe fitter, and so you're kind of just stuck in this. But you also can't afford to quit everything and go back to school. So finding something along those lines where that's the one thing I also say about college is if you have a bachelor's degree, like mine's in communication, it's like whether it's sales or marketing or something, like I can communicate and I have the degree and I could probably shift into a different career path. Yeah, well, I might have to start back over at the entry level of whatever it is, but like it's pretty kind of like a Swiss Army knife versus if you're just trained to be a plumber. It's very hard to like diverge from that career path.
I agree, but I also disagree. I think that's changing. So if you are a plumber and you are a hard worker and you hustle and you have enthusiasm, or maybe you follow the pyramid of success, you can apply that skill and become an owner of a plumbing company, and you can become build your own business, and the sky's the limit. So you could take that, grow your own plumbing company, and that opens up doors saying, I've ran my own business. I've started and ran my own business. To me, is a better resume than I graduated college.
I totally agree with that. We do need to, sorry, not to cut this one off. We keep talking about the pyramid of success. I do encourage everyone to go Google it. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 layers that lead you to success. And it's like 5 at the bottom, 4, 3, 2, and 1 that leads you to competitive greatness and success. And some of the things are great, like you talk about friendship, loyalty, industriousness.
Industriousness, yes.
Cooperation, enthusiasm, intentness, initiative, alertness, self-control, condition, skill, team. It's interesting that skill, this was his pyramid for success. Skill is in your third level. Like it takes all of these things that have nothing to do with your basketball skill, nothing to do with your business skill, nothing to do with any of that skill. Like it's not until you get to the third level to really get there. You got to lay a foundation of.
And the cornerstones are enthusiasm, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yep. And industriousness.
I don't even know what industriousness
It's like hard
means.
work, hustle, grit.
Hustle?
Hustle,
I love
grit,
that.
yeah.
Industriousness. And then, as you keep going up, poise and confidence are like the second level, like before the top, and then you get to competitive greatness. Mm-hmm. Like there's a whole, I don't know, series of episodes you could do, like diving into each one of those. But it's interesting to me when you think about, whether it's, the plumber that wants to own their business, it's not until level 3 where we get to skill. Mm-hmm. Like I think a lot of people think to be great at anything, to be exceptional at anything, it starts with skill. And it's like, no, like loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm, industriousness, and friendship. That's one. Like, can you lay those 5 things? You can build a strong team. So that was kind of a little bit of a tangent, but all right. So we talk about the redemptive kind of trade school or some sort of educational opportunity for people after high school. Mm-hmm. I love that. Danville.
I would have to go with, I've been thinking a lot and I haven't landed on any ideas, but some kind of entertainment that is so cool that you want to drive from northern Indiana or southern Indiana, come to Danville. It's got some, just throwing out an idea. It's got some crazy zip line that's like known so well that you pull from, far away.
Yeah.
I would love to pull something like that off. Some kind of entertainment appeal.
This episode of Get In is sponsored by Accounted For, a team of Indiana CPAs who believe accounting should work for business owners, not against them. Instead of hourly bills and slow responses, Accounted For gives you everything: tax, bookkeeping, consulting, and virtual CFO services under one fixed monthly fee. It's all cloud-based, transparent, and designed to keep your business moving without interruptions. You'll have direct access to a real CPA who knows your numbers and your goals because they think like business owners too. Learn more at accountedforcpa.com and tell them the Get In team sent you. Like, I think about the things that you travel over an hour for. Like, if you guys just went back personally and thought about, okay, what are things that I've recently traveled over an hour for to check out? What would they be?
Not me personally, but my kids used to always go. You probably know it better than me. There's some cliffs for cliff diving in St. Paul. Is that right?
Yeah, down by Shelby County.
And they would just go down. Now, keep in mind, that was a natural thing that happened.
You can't relate. Yeah.
But something like that.
But they did make a whole beach and swim zone
sure.
where you're not supposed to cliff jump, and no one's gonna tell you. No one's gonna get mad at you. But it says, don't dive. Wink. Don't do that.
Back in the day, I would take my kids. We don't go there anymore now. We're going out to Colorado. But I remember going over to the ski joint
Perfect
over there.
North.
Perfect North. Yeah.
Lawrenceburg.
I would say the other one, we would take our kids down to French Lick to stay at the resort down there. It was kind of a cool place.
I love French Lick. I think it's so cool, especially if you are at all interested in history. I just get so fascinated. I could spend hours just walking the hotel and looking at the pictures and reading little plaques. I think it's so fascinating.
And they had the indoor bowling. They had cool things to do in the winter.
Yeah.
For me, it would probably be like a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Nice.
But yeah, I was trying to. I haven't been anywhere.
Come to Martinsville. We'll kick your butt.
French Lick is awesome. To take my family to go somewhere with my family, where they're all going to have some fun to do, and so I think that's kind of a good target. That's why I wanted to build this duck pin bowling, axe throwing, escape room, arcade. Because Martinsville's got a lot of great things, but there's nothing fun to do. Really, in Morgan County, I think somebody that's doing it well is Franklin. They got
yeah. They have that theater there. It's really historic.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention it in one of my videos, and I got scolded by the lovely people of Franklin, Indiana, and saying, how could you make a video about our town and not include the art craft theater, I believe?
Danville's got a killer theater. And actually, my meetups that I talked about earlier were interviewing Bill Wright, who took that over and renovated it, restored it. Next Tuesday, he's going to be my meetup, and we're doing it right there in the Danville Theater.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Well, I got to give love to Martinsville. That Martinsville Entertainment Theater just opened up. A guy named Craig Fenneman bought the building, renovated it, and then sold it to the city, and it's beautiful. So maybe even better than Danville's. I don't know.
Oh, a little
knows?
right. Well, that brings me to an interesting point. If you guys weren't in Danville and you weren't in Martinsville, and maybe there's someone that listens to this, it's like, you know what, I've been wanting to get to a small town and really drive an impact. Were there other towns that are kind of on your short list of places where you see a lot of opportunity?
Is Laguna Beach a small town?
In Indiana, I'm thinking.
I mean, yeah.
Probably Zion. I like Zionsville.
See, I feel like Zionsville's already too far.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you that's almost like too far gone, and they're very protective.
Sure.
Like, if there's one place where you don't want to be an outsider, is Zionsville.
Yeah.
You don't want to be an outsider there.
I like Southern Indiana. I mean, I like the rolling hills, the outdoors. I cannot stand flat landscape, so it would have to be somewhere below that ice line there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Brown County. I don't know.
I think it would be really fun. I want to one day down the road, like for a video and for a whole thing, just buy like a small town, like buy a whole main street, like, 6 buildings or whatever it is, in New Amsterdam, Indiana, the smallest town. I think population is 14 people.
Dang.
Wow.
It's like, I bet it's like 3 buildings. Like, that would be pretty fun.
sweet.
It's like, imagine just like the YouTube video, like Mr. Beast style, like, I bought an entire town. I think that'd be hilarious. And you could like totally renovate and make it like must see stuff. Because I do think that, Scott, you're hitting the nail on the head, where it's not only pouring into your community and making it better for the residents, but where you can really start to get some momentum and a snowball is a place that other people want to come and check out, like a must visit place where it's like, you can't miss this thing. Like French Lick has West Baden Springs and the resort and, the golf course and all that crazy cool stuff. And I actually even think that I always encourage people in Indiana, everyone has heard of French Lick. I mean, you'd be shocked to find a Hoosier that's never heard of it, but how many have actually gone and done it?
Right.
And it is totally worth it. Like, it's kind of expensive at times, but go one time and go out, walk down the main streets there, check out all the places.
The go-karting.
Yeah, like the go-karting, the golf, the bowling. There's great concerts that come through there. Like, it's a whole vibe that like a lot of people talk about, like, oh yeah, we got French Lick, but like they don't actually go down there. I have loved it. Like, I want to go back annually. This is the problem, as I like uncover all these places in Indiana. Like, all of a sudden, like, every weekend is, I want to be in Evansville for this, and I want to be in Fort Wayne for this, and South Bend for this, and French Lick for this, and Lagodi for this, and blah, 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 blah. But there's cool stuff going on down there.
What's going on Lagodi?
Dairy Master.
Oh, wow.
So on the way down to French Lick, there's like a really well-known local ice cream joint there. And Lagodi is also home to Lark Ranch.
Okay.
So Lark Ranch also has a second location in Greenfield. Their original location was down in Lagodi, and it's like corn mazes, pumpkin patch, like a mini like roller coaster and rides and this whole shebang thing. It's like an experience, and they have their second location in Greenfield and I think another one in Lanesville. Yeah, they have 3 locations. So
Wow.
As we come towards the end of the show here, we're going to talk through some more fun stuff just all around Indiana and learn about some of your guys's, just one, perceptions of the state of Indiana, and 2, entrepreneurship, some of your experience there. So I would like to know, what was your guys' both of your first jobs?
Paper route for me, age 12, and taught me, they gave out a catalog where they incentivize you for new starts. And I got the courage to go knock on doors, and it changed my life.
Really?
For sure.
Like
a
you
kid,
started going-
the kid that gets the courage to go knock on doors and sell things. Like, sales is everything in my book. Like, the only reason Justin and I did anything at that company Remodel Health is we had this sales first mentality. Mm-hmm. And I think learning to sell and get over your fear is huge.
Yeah, because everyone's just so scared of what if they say no.
Right.
And it's like, as long as you're not a snake oil salesman and just like, forcing junk that people don't need down their throats, if you really believe and have conviction in whatever it is you're selling, if you can just get the conversation started, ask a lot of good questions and start to talk. People want to do business with people that they like and they enjoy and that they trust.
100%.
And then you follow up with that, and then your word matters.
And what we're doing now in like the second stage of life is all about sales, right? Like, we got to go meet people, build relationships, pitch ideas, like everything is sales.
You got to get the people of Danville to not see you as this outside entrepreneur guy that's trying to change
100%.
everything. You got to say, like, I mean, if you have ever sat down and hung out and met with Scott, like the genuineness and you're just like enthusiasm, I think at first can be almost like, okay, what does this guy want, you know? And then like as you have like the second, third one, you're like, oh no, this guy is just genuine and wants to help high school entrepreneurs and wants to pour into this small community. And like, but I do think that it like takes like one or two reps and then you're like, oh yeah, like this is real. Like there's been a few people that I've met where I'm like, at first, like what is the underlying, you know, motive here? And like the people are just so nice.
That Hunter Beale energy.
Yeah. Hunter is a great one, dude. Like at first, he was just a young Orr fellow that introduced himself. And I was like, he's like, I'm working on these shipping container luxury retreats. And I was like, okay, is this guy really this nice? And then he sent me a letter in the mail with like a stamp wax.
I got it on my desk right now.
Right? And
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, is this guy really like this? And then I met him like a month later, 2 months later, 5 months later, a year later, and I'm still waiting for the moment where like Hunter has like the gotcha moment. And I don't think it'll ever come because
It's the real
just,
deal.
He's just so genuine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Justin, what was your first job?
I would go with my grandfather, and we would spend the week during the summers. I basically lived with my grandfather, and we'd spend the week going to garage sales and auctions and buying junk, and actually picking up stuff out of people's trash. Like on trash day, there was like a good sweeper or something.
You were an American picker.
Yeah. And then we would clean it up in his little workshop and load it up in his trailer. And Saturday and Sundays at 5 a.m., we'd get up and go to Bargersville Flea Market and sell his stuff. And the process was this. We'd get there at 5 a.m., 5:30, set up all the tables. And I was about 8 years old, and Grandpa would then go run around the flea market looking for more stuff to buy that he could resell, and left me there to sell all the merchandise. And I got 0.001% of the day's sales, which usually was like $10 to $20. So
At 0.001%, you guys were moving.
Grandpa was making about $3,000 a weekend selling junk in
No
like
way.
1990.
Baller.
What I loved from this too was until that last one there, he started by saying we went around picking up junk, and then the word changed to stuff. So after it went through Grandpa's workshop, the junk became stuff, and we were
right.
slinging stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty fun. Like,
No warranties.
yeah, no warranties. All sales are final.
Yes.
Just out there wheeling and like, can we take 10 for the bike?
Yeah, so
Classic.
I would have the authority. Grandpa gave me the authority to sell stuff and negotiate. So I'm 8 years old and I'm selling, cordless phones and sweepers and radios and lawnmowers. Lawnmowers are the big ticket items.
Oh yeah, if you can move some mowers,
Yeah.
holy smokes. Okay, gentlemen, what's a piece of advice, whether entrepreneurial or life advice, whatever it might be, that has changed your life? What is a piece of advice that changed your life?
Big faith guy.
Yeah.
Choosing to make following Christ a priority in all things, not just in my family, but at work. And we built a culture, honestly, around that. And it's crazy how well it works. Like the Bible ends up being the best business manual out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the pyramid of success is actually taught in a lot of schools because it can be taught, and the Bible can't, and it's actually built upon biblical principles. John Wooden was a believer, and I was going to say the same thing. Like the best advice that I followed was from a preacher on a Wednesday night back in 1998 of ask God to forgive you your sins and follow Him and say that you believe in Jesus. And I took that advice and changed my life.
Yeah.
And I think, it's kind of cliche, but honestly, God blessed Remodel. I mean, we're a couple morons that know how to sell. That's about it. And God just blessed this thing because, I honestly think we're trying to honor God now in this second stage of life and use this gift we've been given to give back to the world.
I think an interesting piece and a lesson that I've learned from listening to Scott talk is you weren't like the Mark Zuckerberg, be 18 years old and start a bunch of businesses and like entrepreneurship wasn't early in your career. Like you had a full-on career in the insurance business, like good corporate job and eventually you come to the point where you take, like, how old were you when you took the risk?
45, old man by
Wow,
the
I'm not even 45 yet.
Yeah. So think about that. Like everything that you've done now, how long did you guys build Remodel Health for?
about 10 years.
A decade. Like you aren't even currently, I'm 20 or I'm 18 years or whatever it is,
Crazy.
17 years away from you taking the leap to become an entrepreneur that has then changed your life now a decade plus later.
A lot of founders, though, there are a lot of founders that didn't even start their business until after 40.
Yeah. You know, another good one, Ray Kroc of McDonald's. He was like, I think almost 50.
Yeah.
Maybe in his early 50s when he like really started to help grow McDonald's. And he worked again until he was like 80 something and like every day and like loved business and life and like all that stuff just blended together. But I just finished up his documentary or his biography, and it's an incredible journey. But like he was a sales guy for an entire, you know, when you get to be 50, I feel like people are like, oh, just a couple more years away from retirement, and you're like checking out. And he then starts the biggest pursuit of his entrepreneurial life, growing this company to be a global behemoth, which is crazy to me. Like you got a lot of time. No doubt. Come to the final portion of the show. These are the same questions that we ask every guest who comes on. This first question is brought to you by our friends at JC Hart. They're a leader in creating enjoyable living experiences at apartment communities all across Indiana and beyond. Check them out at homeisjchart.com. My question for you, Justin, why do you call Indiana home?
This is where I was born and raised, and where I'm raising my family, and it's a great place to be. The real reason why is because this is where my wife wants to be.
Hey, there you go. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I could live anywhere in the world I want. I choose to be here. I think values. I've heard this before. Greg Enos said Indy is the most relationally accessible city in the world. I totally believe that.
Yeah.
I think you can meet any stud you want to meet. It's like, 2 calls away.
Dude, and I will reiterate this part from earlier. If Scott identifies them as a stud, they are, in fact, a stud. You need to take that. He knows, for some reason, you always end up turning up the crazy coolest people, and I end up following up, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this 16-year-old boy knocked on 1,000 doors over the summer. He is a stud.
And what we try to teach kids in High School Hustle, relationships run the world. I mean, you get good at relationships and just having a bunch of coffees, like you're going to make a huge impact on the world.
Indiana sometimes gets either a bad rap or no rap at all. People are like, I don't even think about Indiana. What's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
Again, I'm going back. I'm a big faith guy.
Yeah.
I would argue Indiana, especially Indy, I can't say outside of Indy, has more faith-driven business owners per capita anywhere in the world.
Really?
I would honestly say that.
Wow.
So many, like I bet 7, and maybe it's just my bubble, but 7 out of 10 business owners I know, faith-driven guys.
Even if
Crazy.
they're not like, it might not be in their company, like,
Right.
their handbook or whatever, but these are people that like you'll see in churches and on Sunday and, talk about faith and praying. Like, I totally agree. You see it in a ton of, and like the more conversations I have like this, so many people that lead into like, well, it's God's grace and we ended up figuring this thing out.
100%.
So, Justin, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
The story of Doc Merritt, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to get that out, let people draw inspiration from it.
Doc's Boys, the after school, no, not after school. What was it?
Out of Trouble Club.
The Out of Trouble Club. That's what you're gonna call your spot there too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And we're gonna put a huge mural of Doc Merritt on the wall.
That's
side of the wall.
so awesome.
But on Scott's question, Indiana, the faith and the values in the business. I was talking to a guy named Tyson Priest. You might want to have him on. He's the head of Faith Initiative for the Lieutenant Governor of Indiana. And he was telling me, I had lunch with him, met him a week or so ago, and Indiana's history is actually, there's more Christian values in our Indiana laws and our history than any other state.
Huh.
And he's looking to get that out.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, we're back to you, Justin. We have 2 questions left. This is your chance to shed some light on a part of the state that more people need to be talking about. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
The soup at Ani's restaurant in Martinsville, Indiana is
What's
like,
it
I go
called?
there. It's soup. It's the only soup. It's like a zuppa.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. I go there and just have the soup all the time.
At Arnie's?
It's called Awnies. Awnies is a Italian restaurant on the square in Martinsville.
And
the
you go
soup-
there for the soup.
I go there just for the soup, and it's incredible.
What?
Yeah.
Awnies. AWNIE''S.
Yeah.
Awnies Italian cuisine in Martinsville. And you go there for the soup.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
wait.
amazing.
Okay, I love a good play on words. As I'm looking on the map in Martinsville, there's also a place called Excellent Day.
Yeah.
EGGCE. Oh, I love word plays. I think that's a great name there, Martinsville. I'm in. Okay, Scott, what is a hidden gem in Indiana?
I'm going to go with Bread Basket in Danville. Best breakfast in the city.
Whoa.
go.
Bread Basket. Danville, Indiana. Oh,
Killer.
the desserts
The
look
desserts are phenomenal.
So good. Bread Basket.
You got to go.
I have never...
Old farmhouse. They converted. It's super cool.
Better than Patachou?
Better than Patachou.
Whoa, that is high praise coming from... I know that Scott loves Patachou.
Yeah.
Wow, Bread Basket. Is this new?
Oh, no.
It's old. Our
around.
Story, established 2005. Judy Sexton, the owner. She looks like she knows a thing or two about breakfast. Let's go, Judy. Keep up the good work. I love it. We've come to the final question of the show. This is where we identify new guests or just absolute awesome Hoosiers that are doing incredible things. Who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Has anyone said Coach Cinetti?
No, actually, we haven't had a Coach Sig in a minute.
Yeah, I'd have to say follow what that guy's doing. I think
No
we're
doubt.
close to winning a national championship here.
Yeah, by the time this comes
Let's
out,
go.
we might have already won.
Yeah.
We're going to prophesize
And
national
he's gonna be here for
champions.
5 more years. Is that right? At least 5?
At least.
The next coach Wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10-year
Yeah.
dynasty.
Let's go.
Do you think? Did you believe it at first? Like when he first came in and started preaching the Signetti gospel, were you eating it? Or did you like, you know what, it's IU, it can't ever change?
I mean, to be honest, I love football. Grew up watching Notre Dame, but I've been so busy with life and work, and I don't watch much sports. If I have free time, I'm doing some jiu-jitsu or watching jiu-jitsu videos. And so, but I have watched some football games recently because IU is fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a chance to meet him in person. A small group of guys went
One
down.
upper over here.
We toured the facilities down there.
this is a Tiger 21 thing, isn't it?
It
How
was.
did I know it was a
It was.
Tiger? Yeah, that
But
checks out.
I've never been in a room with a guy so confident. I mean, the dude oozes with confidence, and you just believe whatever he says.
Dude, at first I thought it was like BS. I was like, okay, come on. But he has proven it. And like,
sure.
it's crazy cool. The other interesting piece, though, that I wonder if other schools are going to figure out in his 2 years, he talks about, he just said in an interview, production over potential. He's like, I want guys that can produce today.
Right.
I don't want to risk wagering on if you're going to pan out or not. Like production over potential, which is interesting.
Like what? Like
It's kind of like
7
the-
4 stars, no 5 stars. I mean, it's mind blowing.
It's like the opposite of like Rudy, where it's like the opposite of the underdog story. He's like, I'm not going to take a bet on anyone. Like if you're not producing numbers, you're not the right one for us, which is interesting. Scott, who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
I've got to go with Evan Hartman. Have you heard that name?
I have. This
Evan
is
Hartman.
the high school hustle guy, right?
So we gave away $100,000 for High School Hustle top 10 in sales. Evan came in, I believe, number 3 last summer. Keep in mind, it was only June or July. The kid made like $55,000, and he was a sophomore at Center Grove. Didn't have time for school, so he dropped out. He's doing online while he's building his business. What he's doing, mind blowing. So he's a hacker, and he would hack into like games and find the cheat codes and sell them to his buddies. That was like version 1.0. Then he started hacking like Google, Facebook, you name it, and he would tell them, and they would pay him a bounty. Well, he got so good at it, and he found like 4 guys around the world. Like one of his partners is in like Jerusalem or something. And they figured out how to build a CAPTCHA. You know what a CAPTCHA
the
is?
recap, like where you have to like name all the cars or move the puzzle piece.
Exactly. They built one that can't be hacked. And I'm not, even though I own a tech company, I know nothing about tech. And so I went to the high alpha guys and I'm like, hey, is this legit? And they're like, it's totally legit. Peter and I and Hunter helped that guy raise, I think, close to $1 million. Peter and I invested in him, but he's 17 and that guy's going to change the world.
That's crazy. We got to get Evan
Got to
on.
get him on.
I need to, because he's going to be a senior.
He'll be he's a junior right now. Yeah.
That is a junior that
He's
raised
stud.
$1 million
Yeah.
for his startup.
Look out for him.
Evan Hartman, standing invitation. Whenever you see this, brother, you are welcome on the show.
Where's
Just
his college degree from?
Yeah. Good question.
Kid's not going to need one.
Yeah, right. And sometimes you just got it like that. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure to have you on today to learn more about what's going on with the Artesians down in Martinsville, what's going on with the Warriors out in Danville. I'm really excited to continue to follow these journeys. I think that that just the effort and the work that you guys have put in through one with Remodel Health and the culture that you built there, and then two, taking this on, and instead of retiring or chilling out down on the beach, really being plugged into these communities and working to make a lasting impact is awesome. I'm really excited. If people want to learn more, they want to get connected with you guys, what's the best way to do it?
Highschoolhustle.org.
Perfect. Mentors. If you are a leader at any sort of capacity and you want to help mentor and steward the next generation of entrepreneurs and business leaders,
Sure.
Get involved with High School Hustle. Justin?
I'm not on social media very much, so
Unless it's jiu-jitsu videos.
yeah. So my email, JustinClements654@gmail.
Oh, that is a legit one.
Yeah.
When did you make that?
My wife's is JenniferClements654.
Don't email his wife, please.
Don't email my wife. So I'm not going to tell you which domain she's at.
Yeah, there we go.
We were married on June 5th, 2004. So
I bet if you would have
654.
given me 3 guesses, I would have got it in one.
Yeah. So it's easy to remember.
I love it, man.
JustinClements654@gmail.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all my gear recommendations at Sweetwater. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.